On Thursday, October 4, 2024, an incident occurred in the Mexican state of Nuevo Leon that immediately caught the attention of all regional media outlets. This region has long been under close scrutiny due to the alarming statistics of crimes committed against women, and once again, it found itself in the headlines. That morning, law enforcement officials from the city of Monterrey reported that the lifeless body of a woman had been discovered in her own home. After examining the crime scene, it became clear that a crime had taken place. As the interior of the residence was in complete disarray, everything was overturned and broken. When the identity of the victim was revealed, the public was particularly shocked. It turned out to be Cindy Elizabeth Hernandez Perez, a model, influencer, and creator of adult content. On social media, she was known by the pseudonyms Ana Fabiola and Barbie Regia. Even seasoned investigators were stunned by the condition in which Cindy's body was found in her own home and the degree of brutality with which she was attacked. The story of Barbie Regia quickly spread beyond online platforms and became a topic of discussion on television and in the press. Everyone wanted to know what had actually happened to the woman known on the internet as Barbie Regia. Law enforcement agencies immediately launched a large-scale investigation to establish the circumstances surrounding the incident. Meanwhile, heated discussions were already unfolding online. Many of her followers expressed their condolences, but there were also those who tried to explain what had happened by referring to Cindy's lifestyle, making various assumptions and judgmental comments. However, the key to solving the mystery lay not on the internet, but in the evidence found at the crime scene, which was carefully examined by investigators. Cindy Elizabeth, a native of Monterrey, was a prominent figure in the online space. In the description of her profile on the social network X, formerly known as Twitter, she called herself an entrepreneur of love, a beauty queen, a model, and a content creator. Her activities sparked a wave of criticism, especially the last of the listed professions. Under the pseudonyms Ana Fabiola and Barbie Regia, she emphasized her appearance and regional origin, which helped her gain popularity among the audience in the early 2010s when social networks were just beginning to enter the everyday lives of users. Cindy's success was not accidental, she was persistent, sincere, and had a clear understanding of how to monetize her popularity. She began publishing photos and videos of her body, aimed exclusively at an adult audience. But her true fame came from live broadcasts on the Twitcam service. During these streams, she not only behaved provocatively but also openly shared details of her personal life, attracting thousands of viewers. Thanks to her unconventional communication style, she managed to gather over 130,000 followers on Twitter and more than 12,000 on Instagram. However, social networks served more as a platform for advertising her main services. Cindy's primary source of income was her work as an escort. She could be hired to accompany clients to various events, and depending on the amount of the fee, the evening could end with a private meeting. She hinted to her followers that the appearance or age of the clients did not matter to her, the main thing was that they could pay the price she set. Barbie Regia's working hours were from 10 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. every day. In her Twitter profile, she published a phone number where one could arrange a meeting. After confirming the request, she would receive clients at her home, despite the obvious risks. In one conversation, she mentioned that on some days she served up to 10 men. Although she spoke about this with a smile, Cindy took health issues extremely seriously. She regularly underwent medical checkups and urged her clients to do the same. She saw this as a sign of respect for herself and for those who used her services. Cindy dedicated many years to her chosen path. Her position was clear. The main thing was to be herself and feel confident. She realized that her lifestyle was far from conventional norms but defended her right to live as she saw fit. Cindy did not hide the fact that, despite her fatigue, she did not plan to change her occupation, as she had already achieved financial stability and could afford a decent existence. Barbie Regia managed to gain independence and live by her own rules. She did not have to ask for help to meet her everyday needs or fulfill her desires. However, in moments when she allowed herself to be vulnerable, she admitted that the only thing for which she could abandon her activities was love. And it seemed that in 2019, she found what she was looking for. After many years of loneliness, she fell in love with one of her clients. They began dating, and Cindy decided to quit her job to devote herself to the relationship. Soon, the couple had a son, but their happiness was short-lived. Later, through social networks, she revealed that the man had taken advantage of her inexperience and, through deception, seized her savings and valuables. After that, Cindy found herself in debt. She was forced to take out loans, and the debt on her credit cards began to grow. As she reported, her former partner paid only a meager amount for their son's support and sometimes even resorted to aggression. Once, when the boy spent the day with his father, Cindy noticed bruises on him. From then on, she forbade their meetings but did not go to the police, fearing that the man might lash out at the child. Finding herself in a difficult financial situation, she was forced to return to her previous activities under the guise of Barbie Regia. Her goal was to pay off her debts and provide a decent life for her son. But this time, she no longer allowed herself to become emotionally attached to clients. She managed to stabilize her financial situation fairly quickly. Subscribers supported her return. Despite the long break, Barbie Regia resumed publishing explicit content and began sharing moments from her everyday life. On September 19, 2024, she posted photos and videos from her birthday on social networks. She had turned 36, and in the footage, she was having fun with her son. No one could have imagined that just 2 weeks later, a tragedy would occur. The morning of Thursday, October 3, began as usual for Cindy. She took her son to kindergarten and returned home to the Colonia Leones district to receive clients scheduled for the next few hours. In the evening, she was supposed to pick up her son, but she never showed up. Surprised by Cindy's absence, the kindergarten director began calling her. This had never happened before, the mother always came on time. After several unsuccessful attempts to reach her, she called another number listed in the form, and eventually, relatives came to pick up the child. That same evening, around 9 o'clock, Cindy published a new post on her social network. But later, when the family tried to contact her, there was no response. The next morning, worried about her silence, her loved ones decided to go to her house to make sure everything was all right. No one answered the door at home. They rang the doorbell for a long time, but to no avail. This already raised serious concerns, as Cindy had never disappeared for such an extended period. Since it was impossible to open the door from the outside, the family called the police. Within a few minutes, a patrol arrived at the scene. The officers came to Factor Munoz Street, where the girl lived with her son. Upon entering, they immediately noticed that something was wrong in the house. The ground floor was in disarray, things were scattered everywhere, and furniture was overturned. Going upstairs to the bedroom, they saw the most horrifying sight. Cindy's body was lying in the room. She was naked, and there were numerous signs of a brutal attack on her body. There were wounds on her skin, probably from a knife. Her face was covered with a pillow. There was no doubt that death had occurred as a result of. The news of the tragedy that befell Barbie Regia quickly spread throughout the country. Immediately, various versions and rumors began to emerge. Many people suggested that the father of her child might have been involved in the incident. Their relationship had ended unpleasantly, and some believed that the man might have resorted to extreme measures because of the ban on seeing his son. Others suspected one of the clients, especially after information appeared on social networks about a mysterious man who had allegedly appeared in Cindy's life a few days before the tragedy. Once, Barbie Regia shared a story on Instagram that raised suspicions in many people. She told about an incident that had happened a few years ago when one of her clients began regularly using her services, explaining it by problems in his marriage. With each visit, his visits became more frequent, and a close connection developed between them. The man became her regular client, and, according to Cindy, she even felt an attraction to him. But when his family life improved, he informed her that he would no longer be able to come because he wanted to save his marriage. She took it calmly and wished him all the best. However, it seemed that this polite response touched the man's ego. Less than a year passed, and he returned, but the relationship between them was no longer the same. The mutual understanding disappeared, and communication became tense. Cindy sensed the client's irritation and suggested stopping the meeting so that each of them could go their own way. Assumptions began to spread on social networks that this man could have dared to commit a crime, driven by jealousy or a desire to possess Cindy after she refused further communication with him. Similar suspicions were also voiced against the father of her child. However, the investigators did not pay much attention to online theories, focusing on the actual evidence. The investigation was led by Prosecutor Griselda Nunez, a specialist in crimes against women in the state of Nuevo Leon. After examining the crime scene, she stated that the case would be classified as a crime based on gender hatred. During the investigation, key evidence was discovered. Among them was the murder weapon, found in the same room where Cindy's body lay. In total, law enforcement officers collected 76 pieces of evidence, which were sent for examination. The first results of laboratory analyses provided important information for further investigation. Biological material of the alleged perpetrator was found on several objects, including the weapon itself. This meant that if his identity was established, the investigation would have not only video footage but also irrefutable scientific evidence, which is crucial for the court. Next, the investigators began studying the footage from surveillance cameras in the area. On October 6, it was found that the last person to enter Cindy's house was a man. The footage shows him approaching the house on foot on the evening of October 3. After spending some time inside, he came out and drove away in Cindy's car, which was parked near the house. This car was found on October 7 in the 10 de Marzo Colony district. By comparing the recordings from other cameras, the police reconstructed the man's route. One detail caught their attention: another vehicle was following Cindy's car. When the suspect stopped and got out of the victim's car, he got into the car that was driving behind. This suggested that another person might have been involved in the crime. On October 11, investigative authorities and the prosecutor's office for crimes against women conducted an operation in the town of Santiago, approximately 40 kilometers south of Monterrey. The search was carried out in a house in the Los Carrizos area, at the 21st kilometer of the highway. Law enforcement officers were following the trail of the suspect, who was identified as 25-year-old Francisco N., a native of the state of Tamaulipas. He worked as a driver for an on-demand taxi service. When the police arrived at the address, Francisco tried to resist, but this only accelerated his arrest. Later, government officials voiced the version they put forward during the investigation of the tragedy that claimed the life of Barbie Regia. According to their information, Francisco N. contacted Cindy through a site with adult content. He managed to arrange a meeting and come to her home, which was recorded by surveillance cameras. Once inside, he tried to rob the girl. Cindy apparently resisted, after which Francisco used force. The investigation suggests that the motive for the crime was money. The man allegedly needed 15,000 pesos to celebrate his daughter's birthday. However, the prosecutor's office continued the investigation, considering the version that Francisco could have purposefully chosen the victim and acted according to a certain scheme, gaining trust and then attacking. When the identity of the attacker was established and the circumstances of the crime were clarified, the authorities published an official statement with a list of actions taken against Cindy. These actions indicated the nature of the charges brought. The crime was accompanied by the use of physical and psychological pressure, humiliation of dignity, coercion, cruel treatment, and infliction of severe, including fatal, injuries. There was also mention of the loss of a trusting relationship between the victim and the perpetrator. All these facts allowed the case to be classified as a crime based on gender hatred. The court issued an arrest warrant for Francisco, charging him with robbery with violence, car theft, and murder. The suspect was placed in a pre-trial detention center in Apodaca, where he awaited the completion of the investigation and further court proceedings. The version about the participation of a second person was officially rejected. Prosecutor Griselda Nunez explained that Francisco bears full responsibility for what happened. Records and evidence confirmed that the other person only provided transportation services. He was an on-demand taxi driver hired by Francisco. It was his testimony that helped identify the suspect. Throughout her career, Barbie Regia has repeatedly been the subject of public discussion. The tragic incident that claimed her life was no exception. An countless number of comments appeared on social networks. Some expressed sadness and condolences, especially noting how traumatic this event was for her son. Others took the opportunity to criticize the lifestyle that Cindy led. Many people condemned her for receiving clients at home, where a child lived, thereby partially justifying what happened. Some users put forward alternative versions, claiming that Barbie Regia allegedly harmed others, humiliated other women, especially those from lower social strata. They said that she spoke disparagingly about their appearance or the cars they drove. It was also discussed that Cindy had contact with dangerous people and even blackmailed regular clients, threatening to tell everything to their wives if they did not pay her. The authors of such theories considered Francisco not a real criminal, but only a front person who was supposed to divert suspicion. However, the truth will probably be finally clarified only after the completion of the judicial process. The farewell to Cindy Elizabeth Hernandez Perez took place on the morning of October 7, 2024, in the chapel of the municipality of Escobedo, where her relatives and loved ones gathered. In the afternoon, the body was transported to a private cemetery in the municipality of Juarez, where it was buried. The case of Barbie Regia has become another alarming testimony to the dangerous reality in which women in Mexico live every day. According to data from the Executive Secretariat of the National Public Security System, in the first half of 2024, more than 523 cases of crimes against women related to gender-based aggression were recorded in the country. More than 47 of them occurred in the state of Nuevo Leon, which remains the region with the highest level of this type of crime. I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Until next time, friends.